How is it going, everyone? Welcome back to Twat Talk. I'm your host, Roscoe M, and Jesus fucking Christ, today's been a fucking weird one. For me at least. So I decided before doing this podcast that I would look up a couple of things, and I would sort of set myself a few things to talk about. And one of them that I've just been looking at there is I decided to see, okay, what are the upcoming games for this year? Is there anything I'm excited for? And I came to a fucking awful realization, and that is, I'm not excited for, any fucking games this year. But the only thing I'm excited for is Metal Gear Solid Delta, the Snake Eater remake. And that's about it. And I fucking came to this realization where I'm like, oh shit, I'm not excited for anything. I'm not fucking looking forward to any game. And I think it's the first year where there's genuinely fuck all games coming out that I'm excited for. Which I don't know. I don't know if I'm just getting older, or something. We're starting this podcast off with a bang. I don't know if I'm getting older, or if games are just getting fucking worse. It could very well be a mix of the two. And when I say games are getting worse, I mean AAA games, not indie games. Indie games are fantastic. Indie games are probably in the best spot they've ever been in. And I'll continue to say this. I'll say this every fucking year, that indie games are mint. Indie games are great. I love indie games. I maybe don't play as many as I should. I should probably play more. I do tend to go back, but that's because I'm replaying a lot of old favorites rather than playing new games. So, but if I do see an indie game that grabs me, I will not hesitate to either stick it on the wish list or I'll buy it outright, then and there. And I have no qualms about that. Some of my favorite games have been indie games. And even some of them that, maybe aren't as great or that have annoyed me in some way, like The Suicide of Rachel Foster. Because that was an interesting game. It was very interesting, but also very frustrating, due to its storytelling. So, but I'm curious to see, what those developers have done since, or if they've done it, if they've done anything, because they had a really good game going and it just fucked it up at the ending. But AAA games I feel like are in the worst fucking spot they've ever been in, because I was looking through the list and it seems as if every single fucking game that's coming out is either some kind of live service shite, it's a sequel to something, or it's a remaster of something that was it doesn't even necessarily it's not even really successful things. It's not as if it's it's a Silent Hill 3 remaster, for instance, or a Metal Gear Solid 2 getting a proper remaster, or anything like that, or any of those kind of games that are the big fucking successful ones. No, it's the one I fucking seen on there that flipped it for me, right? That I'm kind of happy it's getting a remake, but also not at the same time, because it's the epitome of this fucking problem is Croc Legend of the Gobbos getting a fucking remaster apparently this year, which, for those of you that don't know, Croc is a fucking PS1 platformer that came from a failed Yoshi project, right? And the thing that gets me about that is, why the fuck is it getting a remaster? Because it was just fine at the time, and it's not as if it was a massive hit or anything. But genuinely, I think they're starting to just fucking run out, and they're just looking through the PS1, the PS2 catalog, and just going, what can we re-release? What can we put out again for quick, for some quick easy cash, because people will buy it because of nostalgia. And I can't say anything. Literally, the only game I'm excited for this year is a remaster of MGS3, and I bought fucking Silent Hill 2 remake. I'm not saying this to be I'm high and mighty and I never buy remasters and all that shit, because I do buy remasters, because I'm curious to see what they do with them. But for fucking, it makes sense to me, at least when it's a big successful property, something like Metal Gear or Silent Hill. But fucking Croc getting a remake. Like, for fuck's sake. Speaking of games that get remakes, or in this case, they get adaptations, I have finally seen nearly all of The Last of Us Season 1. Right, I've got 2 episodes left. I'm going to go watch them tonight after I record. Actually, I'll probably watch them after I record. I should have watched them before I recorded the podcast, so I could give you my full opinion on the show. But I feel like my opinion is fairly concrete on it so far. And that is that it's not as good. It's not as good as the game. It's... Don't get me wrong, it's certainly a very, very well-made adaptation. But ironically enough, I feel like the game told a better story so far, and a more consistent story. Right? And I tried to describe it to someone who does not know what's it called? Does not know The Last of Us, does not know the game, does not know the show. And I was describing it to them, and they're like, that, what's it like? And I was like, the best way I can describe it is using a music analogy, right? If you imagine that a song comes out, and then you get a cover band, right? And they do their own version of the song. But when they do their cover, the beat is exactly the same. The drummer's doing an excellent job, but the melody is like ever so slightly off key. You know what I mean? And not enough to the point where you'd go, well, that's not the same key at all. It's close to the right key, but it's not quite there. There's maybe like 1 or 2 notes, throughout it that are off, and it's just enough to throw you off. That's kind of how The Last of Us feels. It's hitting all the same story points, but it's hitting them either in a different order. It's cutting things out, which I don't like, and I feel like it's completely fucked some of the character arc because of the pacing. Because and the thing I don't understand is that The Last of Us is a game that is fucking ripe for expansion. There's so much game there. Like The Last of Us Part 1, which is what the first season's based on. You've got like a good 10 to 15 hours worth. And, even if you just took all the cutscenes, you've still got a couple hours of story there. And they've chopped it to 9 episodes. Right? And don't get me wrong, like, they've expanded on some stuff amazingly. When you're in, I think it's Kansas City, and you meet Henry and Sam and things like that, they've massively expanded on that, and they gave, like, a proper villain and stuff like that, and it's not just some arsehole bandits chasing you down. And I really like that. I really like what they've done, and they've, of course, the flashback episode with Bill and Frank. I fucking loved that episode. It was great. It gave Bill a hell of a lot more character, and it was nice to actually see Frank, and stuff like that. But there's so many scenes that get cut out. Like at Bill's place, because you don't do the whole thing with them trying to find the battery and everything because Bill's just left the truck for them. You don't get the scenes of Ellie helping out Joe and stuff like that. And I don't know, Joe and Ellie don't feel as connected. Like in this, like I've made it all the way to fucking episode 7 of 9. And it's only just at the, round about maybe like the end of episode 6 or something that they actually start to feel like they're bonding. And stuff like that. Whereas, like, in the game, by the same point in the story, they had bonded, they'd grown to trust one another. Joe had betrayed Ellie slightly, and then had atoned for it. By the same point when they're leaving Jackson, Wyoming. And it just pisses me off that so much stuff that they added so much, and they expanded on so many things, but then they cut things that were already there, and they swapped around a lot of events so that they happened in a different way, and that Joe and Ellie didn't do certain things together that helped to strengthen the bond. And ironically enough, the game, I think, did a way better fucking job. And it's not just because it did it through gameplay. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay does a massive amount of lifting in The Last of Us, because you feel so connected to the characters because you're spending that time with them and it's you as the player. It's not just watching a cutscene. But like, you know what I mean? Can you see why I'm a bit pissed off about it? Because other than that, it's so well made. Like the art design, you know, like the design of like the infected and the clickers and I think it's the bloater as well, is like bang on to how the originals were designed, and it's great. And Pedro Pascal is fantastic in it. Bella Ramsey does like a pretty good job with what she's given. Unfortunately, what she's given is an Ellie with less agency, I'd say. That's kind of how it feels. They took some of Ellie's agency away, and they took away some of the nicer side of her character, and they've chopped her down to this sort of like rebellious teen idea. You know, like the kind of basic rebellious teen rather than the unique blend that was Ellie in the original, where she was this rebellious, like a hard as fuck teenager in the apocalypse. But then she was also like absolutely taken aback and amazed by a fucking destroyed city. You know, like the fact that she was living outside of, or the fact that she'd finally gone like outside the QZ and stuff like that. You know, there's just small elements of the character that aren't there, which it's really quite annoying to watch. Because I feel really conflicted about it, because it's so fucking close to being right. And then it's as if, like, just as I start to be like, yeah, this is really good, they do something that fucks it up for me. And I'd say that the story feels a bit more shallow, I guess. Despite the additions they made, it feels as if you're not seeing as much of Joe and Ellie as you should by this point. And again, it's almost as if the game is relying on my knowledge. It's as if the show is relying on my game knowledge to fill in the gaps, which is one of the problems when it comes to adaptation, is that the presumed audience, you know, the main audience will already have an understanding of the source material, but that to me doesn't give you the right to just cut things out and go, well, the audience already knows, because you could have new people in who don't know, and then they get a shallow experience. You know, and really, I think there's a blend there that needs to be kind of, that needs to be done there. There needs to be a balance of the same story, but then expanding on the bits that deserve to be expanded on. Like, I do and I don't like the extended opening. I feel like it just kind of feels like every other apocalypse story, where it's like, oh, look how wonderful and normal everything is, and then, you know, bang, the apocalypse happens. Whereas, at least with the normal world and things like that, that we already know, in the original game, it's maybe like, 5 minutes tops that things are normal. And it doesn't feel drawn out, and it doesn't feel like it's trying to be like, oh, look how happy and wonderful everything is so that we can all fuck it up later. You know, and I didn't feel that it really did that much for Sarah as well. And that's the other thing, right? Pedro Pascal is a fantastic actor, and he's doing a fantastic fucking job. Why is he silent for most of the episodes? I swear, it's so fucking rare to actually hear Joel talk. Whereas, like, in the game, Joel's not, you know, he's not a fucking chatterbox. He's not as bad as Ellie. Ellie can fucking talk. But, like, he'll still talk back, and he's still civil. He still feels like a normal human being, but one that's maybe just a bit hard around the edges. But, like, Joel in the show is just fucking socially inept. And this is coming from an autistic fuck. So, like, I'm socially inept as shit. And even I'm sitting here going, Joe, you know how to fucking interact with people, right? Like, you know how to interact with someone without being an asshole. And yeah, it's quite annoying. It feels as if they've almost been slightly sanded down to fit more archetypal roles, in, instead of keeping the uniqueness of the Joel and Ellie dynamic, which is the entire fucking selling point of The Last of Us. But hey, that's just my opinion. It's still don't get me wrong, it's still a really well made show. I still highly recommend it. I will still probably check out the second season. And that's another thing as well. The second season, the rumors are that they're just jumping straight to 2. Why? To me, a show that wants to expand upon The Last of Us, there's so much fucking room to expand in there. You've got like a full 5 fucking years of a gap that we only get glimpses of in The Last of Us 2. You could set like an entire like season in there. You even maybe get maybe like 2 out of it. You could really ham up the drama and everything. And for a show like this, I think you need that. You need like a gripping character drama going on. And there is character drama, because you could do the entire fucking thing that we see in 2, like in The Last of Us 2 in the flashbacks, with like Ellie growing up with Joe, and then when she works out that he lied to her at the end of the first game, and that whole kind of betrayal and the everything that leads up to the opening of Last of Us 2, you could absolutely put that in like a middle season, or like I say, even get like 2 seasons out of it. Because fuck, you could do like an entire, you could do the entire first season on like, a sort of montage almost. And then, of just like bits and pieces of like Ellie slowly working on maybe something's not right here. And then at the season finale, you drop the bombshell. It's all, Joel fucking lied to her. He killed all the fireflies at the hospital and shit. And then you go, oh, fuck. And that's your season finale. Bang, cut to black. Open up the next season. And it's kind of like how the opening of The Last of Us Part 2 feels, where it's like, oh, something's not right. These characters are not the way we last left them. And you could do like an entire fucking season of Ellie, the conflict that's in Ellie, of like, fuck, he lied, but he lied to keep me alive, and like, a whole thing of survivor's guilt there. Like there's an arc there ripe for expanding. But no, they're just jumping straight to the story of The Last of Us Part 2, because that's what Naughty Dog did. Never mind the fact that you could rightfully expand on what was there and have your show then stand out, and it's not just the equivalent of a cutscene compilation on YouTube. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like The Last of Us has potential. The show, The Last of Us, not the games. I feel like there's potential there. That's not being tapped into, and that kind of annoys me. But yeah, so that's my opinions on The Last of Us show, having not seen the finale yet. Once I've seen the finale, I'll let you know what I think, definitively. But for now, I think there's potential for something really good there, but they would have to go back over it, I think. It's not quite there for me. Because I feel like it's essentially a shallow, sanded down version of what was already a fantastically told story. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't really know how to end that. It's kind of like when I'm recording the videos, I'll leave a gap like that, and normally that just gets cut out, but I forget I'm on the podcast and nothing gets cut. So I guess I'll talk about another gaming achievement recently. Is I beat my Dark Souls challenge at last. It only took me an extra month. So I did a Dark Souls challenge called Weird Boss Order, and that went up on the channel not too long ago. On the second channel, go look it up. Where I decided to beat all the Dark Souls bosses in the weirdest yet possible order. So that's defeating, I can't remember exactly who it was now, or what order it was in. Let me see. I do still have it. So it was, of course, beating like Asylum Demon first, but then like Quelaag, then the Butterfly, Sif, Four Kings, Capra Demon, Ceaseless Discharge, Stray Demon, Taurus Demon, Gaping Dragon, Gargoyles, Pinwheel, Iron Golem, Ornstein and Smo, Nito, Sanctuary Guardian, Artorias, Manus, Gwendolyn, Seath, Priscilla, Calamite, Fire Sage, like Demon Fire Sage, Centipede Demon, Bed of Chaos, and then Gwyn. So I beat that not long ago, and that has got to be, I think, my favourite challenge that I've ever done. Because it really tested the mental map, especially at the beginning, before beating sort of like the Taurus Demon and the Gargoyles. Because you fucking tell me how to get it to all the way down to, I think it's Darkroot Basin and Darkroot Garden and stuff like that. You tell me how to do that without going through fucking Andre in Undead Parish. Because, like, that's the fastest way to get there. But it's not the only way to get there. So I had to beat, I think it was Havel quite early on, so that I could unlock his shortcut behind him to get into the basin and all that shit. And fuck me, it took forever to get anywhere. Right up until, I think, basically like the last stream. Because even once I beat Ornstein and Smo, didn't make it much fucking easier, because then I still had to go to like Nito, even though I'd already beat Pinwheel, so I had to do all the same stuff I did for Pinwheel and then go through to Nito as well. DLC mostly went as planned. Like the Guardian, Artorias and Manus just didn't fight Calamite, which is easy enough. And oh my god, I totally forgot on the fucking last stream. I fought, obviously went back and fought Calamite, and the fucking bastard, I triggered the cutscene to ground him and stuff like that. I went and spoke to, I don't remember the lad's fucking name, with the bow, like Hawkeye Go or Goff or something like that. Spoke to him. He shot Calamite down, but then Calamite was still fucking flying in the fight. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I thought I'd fucked the fight up. So I went back, reloaded it, everything like that. But no, he was fucking great. I thought maybe like the cutscene would trigger, but nothing happened. So I went back to try and re-trigger it, but no, it just gave me the dialogue after. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I just had to fucking fight him like that. The pain in the fucking arse that he was. But we got there in the end, even with the broken fight. And all in all, the challenge was really fun, and beating Gwyn was a good laugh, because we got to do a nice little dance with the fucker while we were there. So yeah, good times. I really enjoyed playing it that way though, because again, it makes you dust off your mental map of Dark Souls and try and figure out like really unintuitive yet entirely possible ways to get around the place. To run around Lordran in the wrong order. However, it did mean that for a good fucking while, because I went and beat the Four Kings early on, the Firekeeper at Firelink Shrine had died, even though I hadn't even been anywhere near Lautrec yet, because it broke the triggers. And I was like, shit. So for like most of my playthrough, no Firelink Shrine to rest at, so that was fucked. And it wasn't until I beat Ornstein and Smo, I think, because I went and I defeated like the summon, like you go to Lautrec. I did that, and I eventually got Firelink back by the end. But Jesus fucking Christ, I went for so long without it. Because I basically went all the way from Four Kings, which was boss fight 5, all the way to Ornstein and Smo, which was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 fights. So, I went a good 9 fucking fights, which was a whole, I think, nearly 4-hour stream, or something like that, without Firelink. And I was like, shit. But yeah. It was fun, though. It was really good. I really quite enjoyed it. Not long ago, look, a few minutes ago, before I went on Dark Souls rant, I mentioned the second channel because jeez, fuck. Oh, sorry. So I went on and so I mentioned the second channel not long ago, which is where I put all my streams. And I was thinking about the main channel, and I was like, fuck me, there's a lot of videos on it. There's well over 500 public videos. And I think if I count the unlisted and the private and stuff like that, there's about a good 600 something videos on there. And I thought, do you know what? Fucking, I don't like a lot of my old shit. So just today, I went through and I mass privated a lot of the videos on the channel. Up to a certain point. I kept some of them. I kept things like first impressions, like the early episodes of that. And I kept a couple videos that I liked from over the years, but overall I got rid of the majority of the content there. And I cut it down to 147. So out of all the fucking hundreds of videos that I had done, I only actually wanted about 147 on the channel, and I felt that we're still representative of what I do, which is fucking mental to think about. The fact that I cut so much shite that I liked at the time, but looking back on, I was like, the channel just looks a fucking mess, and it looks as if I didn't know what I was doing, because it didn't. There's like a good 10 years of history to this channel, and then from that, I think the videos that were public were from about 2017. So even at that, you're talking about like a good, 8 fucking years of that? No, that doesn't work. Oh no, it does, because the channel's like 11 years old now. So yeah, that would work. Fucking like a good 8 years or something like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I mass privated a bunch of videos and cleaned up the channel quite a lot. And I think it's looking a hell of a lot better with just 147 videos on it. Because now if you scroll back to the oldest videos I left up were from 5 years ago. And that's because I thought, well, these are still kind of what I'm doing now. I kept one of them just because I like it. It's a nice, fun video and stuff. But yeah, a lot of the stuff got cut down. And it now looks as if the channel started with 2 videos and then like 2 videos in the space of 1 year. And then I moved on to the podcast immediately. I kept, I took down a lot of the old stream archives and things like that. Again, I left a couple up that I liked. The odd video here and there, or a highlight video and such. But no, the channel's looking an awful lot cleaner now than it used to, and it looks a bit more focused in terms of what my interests are, because I've worked out what my interests are now, and I can now target that kind of audience. But yeah, on the video side, and this will lead into my next point, I'm kind of stuck between videos right now. I've not actually been working on any. In the last like maybe 2 weeks or so, I don't think I've worked on a video, because I finished up work on the video for this month, actually March, and I then so that comes out in a couple of weeks, and I finished up work on that, and I've not done anything since, because I'm just stuck in a bit of a rut at the minute. I had a bad week. I think it was last week or the week before. I had a really quite downer week. I just felt like shit the entire time, and I felt really unproductive. And I fucking hate being unproductive. Being unproductive to me is one of the worst fucking things, when I'm not doing anything, because I'm the kind of person that I need something to be going on I need to keep my mind active. I need to keep it on a task. Otherwise, I just feel really directionless and aimless and all this shite. I need to be working on something. Yeah, so I need to be working away on anything really. Whether it's a video or if it's a college project that I've got going on. And at the minute, the college projects, I'm also stuck because there's no actual shooting to be done right now. I'm kind of stuck between shoots and stuff like that, because like for final projects, there's, shoots, but it's sort of try to organize them. And then it's the same for every project, really. It's organization. And I fucking hate organizing and I hate paperwork and all that shit. And that's basically what I've got stuck in. I'm not shooting a whole lot, which makes me feel really unproductive when I'm sitting here and I'm just going, well, there's the fucking work done, and that's the end of it. You know, I've written this thing up and that's it. It pisses me off to no end. I fucking hate paperwork, and I'm sure a lot of creatives can relate to that. That the paperwork and the fucking admin and the hassle is just such a fucking pain in the arse. And it can totally kill the passion for a project. But I don't really have a choice because a lot of the projects are mandatory. Oh, apologies for yawning so much. And that's me after a fucking can of Monster as well. Oh, but yeah, no, so like I say, I'm kind of stuck between a lot of projects right now. Nothing's really moving, nothing's going ahead, nothing's being shot, and all that shit, and it just makes me feel fucking pish. You know, it just makes me feel like shit. Because like I say, at the minute with video scripts, I'm kind of stuck between videos, and I might have to pull out one of the finished ones and just try get to cracking on that. But also at the same time, I don't want to do videos that I'm not passionate about. Oh my god, Jesus, sorry, fuck me. Yeah, I don't want to do any videos that I'm not passionate about, because that'll just upset me even more. Because I won't put the effort into it, and then it'll come out shite, and then I'll wonder what the fuck's happened. You know, why is this video performed so poorly? And I think at the minute I'm just kind of stuck in a creative rut because of, like I say, a shitty week, and then projects not going through, and being stuck between jobs. But yeah. Oh god, it's it's a fucking pain in the arse, and I hate it. But hey, we're rolling with it. We're gonna try and keep positive, and I'm gonna see what I can get working on. Hopefully, I can start shooting some stuff soon, and hopefully, I can get to work on more videos. But for the time being, podcast will have to do to keep you satiated for the next little while. So I'm gonna upload this one before the next one, which I actually recorded a couple weeks ago. So the next video will come out, or sorry, this will come out, then the next main channel video, then it'll be another podcast afterwards, which I have recorded already, and it's up. It's just scheduled, and I scheduled it to come out after that video for very particular reasons, but this one will come out first. So this is actually, recording wise, this is episode 37, but it's 36 in release. And then the next one will be 37 in release, but 36 in recording. I don't know how much sense that made. But yeah, so I'm going to leave that there, and I will talk to all of you later on. Well, I'll see you in this month's video, and then I'll see you in the next podcast with a nice returning guest. Whoa, voice left me there. With a returning guest that I won't tell you about just yet. I'll let you guess that. So I will see you all later on. Bye bye.